Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I'd rather die virgin than have kids like hers? Am I the a-hole for banning my relatives from my wedding? Am I the a-hole for telling my friend not everyone in the world is poor? Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I'd rather die virgin than have kids like hers? My female 16 sister, female 31, has two kids ages 4 and 6. She had them after several miscarriages. They're living with us, me and my parents now, and let me just say that they are brats. Literally, and my sister and her husband, a doctor who's stuck in student debt still, spoil them rotten. I'm annoyed that they're with us but can't do anything about it, so I just bear and grin. But it all came to a head yesterday. The youngest was complaining about wanting to watch TV while I was watching my show. My sister tasked me to let her kids watch TV. I said no and told her to go away. She insisted and I still declined, and she called me selfish. But I called her an enabler, but she replied saying she wasn't, and that her kids come first and I'll understand when I have my own one day. I just told her, huh? I'd rather die virgin than have kids like yours. She was shocked, she got mom involved, and an argument ensued. Mom told me to apologize immediately, but I refused. Then my sister proceeded to cry, calling me horrid for saying this in front of her kids, then rushed upstairs and took the kids. Mom said I was rude and selfish since I spent hours watching TV already and should have just let the kids having instead of acting rude, not to mention the messed up thing I told my sister who had her kids after she and her husband had gone through a lot. Am I the a-hole?
YTA, why would you need to say such a thing? Why the need to say something so horrible over TV time? I understand the kids might be spoiled, but honestly, you're a decade older. Take the high road here and try to restrain yourself from comments that will make you TA. They're not helping your case at all, nor winning people over. Honestly, you sound a bit immature here, which is understandable since you're super young, but this comment was way over the line. The way you comment about her husband not being free from debt makes you also sound judgmental and inexperienced. If I assume her husband is around her age, or even a decade older, then honestly, do you understand how young 30-ish is in a doctor career? Medical education can be insanely expensive, and it's almost laughable to use his debt against him when it's got literally nothing to do with the situation. Tip: always stick to the argument itself. Otherwise you just revert to kindergarten name calling and solving nothing. Your house has too many people in it, with too disparate of ages, for one TV. Your sister needs a TV and DVD player in her room or a playroom rec room so the kids can watch Baby Shark all day long and not annoy all of the adults. Money may be tight, but surely this can be managed. These things are much less expensive than they used to be. Or they can let the kids have the one in the living room and give you a TV for your own room where you can have privacy and quiet. It seems to me that just adding one TV and one DVD player to your household would cause a massive decrease of friction and confrontation. Such a simple solution. Your sister also needs to have it pointed out to her that the kids come first is for the parents to follow. It's probably even something that the grandparents should follow, within reason. But aunts and uncles? No. Well, they should be considerate of the kids. They're allowed to put their main priority on themselves. They didn't volunteer to sacrifice their lives for these kids the way the parents did. Frankly, I agree with your virgin sentiment, but you were an asshole to say it to a woman who's had several miscarriages, and especially an asshole for saying it in front of the kids. ESH. YTA based on what you've written. A young kid wanting to watch TV isn't spoiled or entitled. After all, you were doing exactly that. They aren't visiting, it's their home too. So you need to share, just like the other kids. You'd been watching for hours. Take a break and let someone else pick a show. I understand that you may not love sharing your home with young kids, but honestly, it's your parents' home and choice, so don't take it out on the kids. Saying in front of them that it would be better to be dead than their parent is horrible. At your age, I don't expect you to totally understand kids and how they react, but you may want to consider your actions impact theirs more than you'd think. You aren't modeling sharing and caring behavior, so if they are bratty, like it or not, you may need to look at yourself as a portion of the reason why. It sucks, but kids are sponges and will do what they see. They will act how you do. NTA, maybe you could have some more tact next time. You spill the home truths, but people are blind to their own kids sometimes. I just went to a wedding, and my Mrs. Cousin's kids are total little scumbags. The youngest, a boy who is 7, has been caught taping his dog's mouth shut with duct tape before he breaks everything he touches. He kicks, he bites. He also wets the bed every night and still insists on sleeping in his parents' bed every night. They refuse to make him go to bed at a reasonable time because they can't trust him not to wreck the room and instead just give him cans of Coke and bags of sweets to keep him awake until they want to go to bed. That kid is a troubled little shit and his parents made H that way. They are of the opinion that he is just a kid. You should use the time and influence you have as an auntie in the same house to help them be better parents and to teach their kids. You're NTA for pointing it all out though. YTA, as someone with 6 siblings, I completely get how annoying it is to never be able to watch what you want in peace. However, the way you handled it and the way you speak about your family makes you the asshole. What you said was absolutely uncalled for, and the fact that you said it in front of the children is deeply upsetting. Kids internalize that shit. They may full well be brats, but at their age that's more telling of the parents than the kids. They don't understand why you said that about them, and all they will know is that you hate them for some reason. Wanting more boundaries with the TV is reasonable though. You could have just discussed this more maturely and maybe y'all could have come to some sort of agreement with TV use. You might still be able to, but you've definitely got some apologizing to do first. Edit. I meant to include this originally, but you also do not understand debt. You can't really fully grasp someone's financial situation by their debt. Plenty of very well-off folks have tons of debt. My father is upper middle class, and he has been paying off debt most of my life. His credit is great, and it makes him more likely to get loans and other boring adult crap approved. Debt is annoying, but it can actually be quite good for you if you can handle the responsibility.
Am I the a-hole for banning my relatives from my wedding? I, female 32, am getting married in February. My best friend is a trans woman and will be my maid of honor. I've been friends with her since we were children. My dad's older brother is very bigoted and quite frankly hateful. He especially has an aversion to trans people and says the most horrible things about them. His wife is no different. I've decided not to invite those two to my wedding, mostly to protect my friend and to avoid drama. Their kids, my cousins, told them that if their parents can't come, then they won't either. I told them to get lost and that my wedding would be better off without them. My mom understands why I'm doing this, but my dad is upset and says I'm being unreasonable. He keeps promising me that his brother won't do anything and will just sit quietly, but I refuse to budge. I just don't trust my uncle to act like an adult because of his past behavior. My mom told me that my aunt, said uncle's wife, has been crying, one of her favorite manipulation tactics. Now tell me, am I the a-hole? Am I really being callous in trying to protect my best friend?
NTA, you get to decide who attends your wedding and who you surround yourself with in general. There's a saying, you can't choose your family, Bollocks I say. You might not choose who you are related to by blood, but you can definitely choose the family you want to be by your side through the highs and lows of life. Don't give in to your manipulative and toxic family members. Maybe now they'll realize that, whilst they are entitled to their own opinions, they are not entitled to force those opinions on others or share them when they will definitely cause offense and harm to others. Congratulations, and I hope you enjoy your day. NTA, you are known by the company you keep. Who do you want to be associated with, your friend who you enjoy being with, or a group of bigots? Honestly, we need to make being a bigot socially unacceptable. For a while, it was nominally, people didn't say the silent parts out loud, but if you paid attention you knew the code. Now we are back to people in white hoods running for office. It is okay to dislike someone for the choices they make, like being a bigot. It is not okay to hate someone for who they were born as. When I was 9 or 10, my paternal aunt and grandmother threw aunt and dad's only first cousin on their dad's side out of the family for calling my mom a dirty immigrant. Right there on the spot he was told he was dead to us and to never contact us again. We left, with my aunt calling to her husband and dad in another room that if they weren't in the cars when we left they could walk to Felix's, a restaurant. They came bolting out of that house. Honestly, their reaction made me feel so loved and protected. My aunt and I disagreed about a bunch of stuff, but she always had my back. She didn't tolerate hate bigotry. If I was gonna be petty and didn't care about ruining the moment, I'd say tell dear old dad, okay, your brother can come, but you're 100% responsible, and the first comment he makes gets you both kicked out and follow through. But as with most things, the immediate malicious giddy of giving an asshole their comeuppance would also make a lot of uninvolved people uncomfortable, mar your special day, and still end up hurting your friend either through her hearing the comments or just feeling bad, undeservedly, that she caused the problem. So NTA, and if dad's so put out about it, he can keep the uncle company far away from the ceremony. NTA. First of all, what the fuck? The entitlement is just ugh. It's your wedding, so you can do whatever you want. Anyone making another person's wedding about them is bad, but in this case it's fucking worse. Because I came across a similar post where Op's sister didn't let her bring her girlfriend because her in-laws were homophobic. You are doing this to protect your friend. She is not even actual family, even though that could still count. I would see friends as family too. So -5/5 buttholes for you, because you would rather have your friend at your wedding and safe than bigots. The only right thing to do. Everyone who argues gets 3/5 buttholes. And your uncle gets 5/5 buttholes for saying horrible things about trans people. NTA, you get to decide who attends your wedding and who you surround yourself with in general. There's a saying, you can't choose your family, bollocks I say. You might not choose who you are related to by blood, but you can definitely choose the family you want to be by your side through the highs and lows of life. Don't give in to your manipulative and toxic family members. Maybe now they'll realize that, whilst they are entitled to their own opinions, they are not entitled to force those opinions on others or share them when they will definitely cause offense and harm to others. Congratulations, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Am I the a-hole for telling my friend not everyone in the world is poor? My 19 female friend, 18 female, is very low income, and she often can't seem to comprehend that other people aren't. She basically thinks everyone else has the same life experience as her, when in reality, the greatest portion of people at our college are wealthy or upper middle class. So she always says these clueless things, assuming everyone else is as poor as she is. People constantly talk about going out to eat at nice places, and my friend is always like, no one can afford that. And they just ignore her because they're too nice to correct her and just go without her. Girls always go shopping or talk about shopping, and my friend always says, lol, we can't afford that. We're broke college kids. When in reality, everyone else can and is just shopping without her. She basically just operates under the assumption that everyone else is poor like her, and they aren't at all. People were talking about where they're traveling for winter break, and my friend was like, they can't possibly afford that. And I finally told her that they can and not everyone is poor. Which she's insulted by me calling her poor when she calls herself poor every few times.
NTA, unfortunately, there are a lot of people in the world who have no idea how privileged they actually are. They see the uber wealthy, and because they do not have the ability to blow money on literally anything they want at any moment, they call themselves poor. I used to teach at a boarding school full of wealthy students. I kid you not, one of my teenage students claimed his family wasn't wealthy because his father only made $4 million a year. This was said to me and a group of other teachers, all making less than $30,000 per year teaching and supervising them, sometimes up to 14 hours a day, because of the boarding situation. I will never forget this moment. This kind of disconnect from reality may seem harmless, but it absolutely is not. It prevents them from being able to actually sympathize with the situation of people who are living in poverty or struggling. That allows them to become the kind of adults who disapprove of governmental programs to help people who are in need because they think to themselves, well, I struggle sometimes too, but you don't see me asking for handouts and other such nonsense. When in reality they have no idea what they're talking about. People like this need to be given a wake-up call. It's good you had the opportunity to say something to her while she's still young. Hopefully, she'll eventually hear your words and take them to heart, but her response doesn't leave me feeling optimistic. NTA, but I will say this. It's possible that her family is living beyond their means. I grew up lower middle class in an upper middle class area, and when the housing crisis hit, a lot of my rich classmates suddenly lost their homes. There were a lot of divorces from the stress. Even though I grew up feeling left out and jealous over how almost everyone else in my school had name brand clothes and got to go on vacations and stuff, I later learned that a lot of those families really suffered under serious debt as they were constantly keeping up with the Joneses. Even though your friend likely doesn't understand what it really means to be poor, it's possible that she's overheard conflicts between her parents about money, especially given the pandemic. It's forcing most people to at least cut their spending. Maybe she's not poor exactly, but isn't able to fully articulate the way that some degree of financial strain is affecting her parents' relationship or her family as a whole. She's right, you can't judge based on what she has. You don't know if those are gifts, if they're living beyond their means, if they're on some kind of budget plan, or what. Homeless people have iPhones, hell, organizations give them iPhones so they can be safer. I used to think one of my friends was rich as hell, they would get tons of consoles for Christmas, pools, holidays, etc. Then I found my friend's dad listing all those things for sale the month after Christmas, still new in boxes. They were appearing rich, but they were very poor. When I went over there to eat, they gave me so little food, and it was all they had. It was very clear they were struggling. They gave us leftover tin spaghetti. I was a bit shocked they didn't put on a show for me, but I was a surprise guest, so maybe there wasn't time. I've surprise guested at their house enough to know when they are doing okay versus not. They may look rich as hell from the outside, but they might be taking out shady credit cards and all sorts of things to get those things. There may be real financial stress in the house you can't see from outside. I suggest you ask her mum if she's poor. If nothing else, it might open a conversation between the two of them. It's also possible she's so detached from reality she has no clue what poverty is. I suggest you open her eyes somehow. Calling her out won't help. Visiting actual poor friends might help a NTA, but I'd like to offer some perspective. I grew up in a wealthy area, I'll never be able to afford to move back there. My dad was always telling me he got lucky on timing and knowing the people he bought the house from. Or that the sports car he bought was a fluke of deal plus promotion situation, so he got it for way cheaper. But our entire childhoods, he would stress the F out about money. It was an issue my parents unfortunately put us in the middle of. It wasn't until I left home and was exposed to the real world that I understood that no matter how asset rich but cash poor my dad could have possibly been, his concept of what rich and poor meant were seriously off. Therefore mine was. I certainly didn't grow up with toys and trips your friend did, but I did grow up with parents who do not know how to manage money. I like the comment someone else left that mentioned having deeper conversations about home life. It seems like your friend is just a bit clueless, and her reaction could be the symptom of her discovering some deeper truths about the reality of her family's perceptions. It took me a long time to fully grasp what being poor versus wealthy really meant, and that it was quite the spectrum. NTA, but be careful about judging people's perceived wealth. A lot of this stuff might be purchased on finance, basically a loan, or the parents might be in a lot of credit card debt, or after all these expenses they might be living paycheck to paycheck, or the parents might spend their year's savings on these treats, you never know. Just because someone looks like they live a lavish lifestyle doesn't mean that they can afford to sustain it, and your friend might be aware of this. Or, your friend is judging herself compared to even more well-off friends and thinks she's poor in comparison. No offense, but when you're 17 you think much more in absolutes than when you're older, or at the very least your perspective is much more yeah I have ABC, but look how much XYZ they have. Because you're both so young I wouldn't hold this over her or let it ruin a friendship. She might just be naive and not have the perspective of someone on the outside looking in. I know for a fact that when I was 17 I took my parents' success and wealth for granted and compared myself to my richer friends, even though looking back on it, I led a very privileged lifestyle. It's all about perspective, so while you're NTA I wouldn't hold it over her.